In the meantime, there's growing fallout this morning over a report about former President Trump in the Washington Post that the paper was forced to correct after they attributed a fabricated quote to the former president that the paper admitted was not true. Joining us to discuss is a former member of President Trump's legal team, Jordan Sekulow. He's also the executive director for the American Center for Law and Justice. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us today. Before we jump into this conversation, just want to read everyone the Washington Post's correction admitting they had wrongly attributed multiple quotes to Trump based on an anonymous source stemming from that very phone call. The correction reads in part, quote, "The recording revealed that the Post misquoted Trump's comments on the call based on information provided by a source. Trump did not tell the investigator to, quote, find the fraud, or say she would be a, quote, national hero if she did so." So this correction is really a huge one. The exact quote, "find the fraud," that was used in the impeachment trial by Democrats. What's your reaction to how this story has unfolded here?
I think the Washington Post should be under a lot more scrutiny because of what they've done here. I think that we can't let them get away with just a correction, because in their correction itself, Emma, they go on to say, but really President Trump deserved everything he got, deserved the treatment. So even though he never said find the fraud, you'll be a national hero, and instead just said to scrutinize the ballots the way you should as the lead investigator in the state of Georgia on election and voting security and scrutinizing ballots, which would be a normal thing to someone whose job is to do that. They demonized him as usual and didn't get caught until now, well after the election. But they're trying to get away with it with basically saying, but don't worry, readers, even though we got this wrong, because now we actually have the leak of the call and the actual transcript of the call. He really deserved this. He was that bad. And this was constantly what President Trump was facing his entire 4 years in office. It's what he is even facing as we speak today. People making up their own narratives, putting quotes around it, and attributing it to him. And all he can say is, I didn't say that, or have someone leak a phone call. That's not a great way to, of course, have to govern. And it becomes even more difficult when you become a private citizen.
And because we have this newly released recording, I just want to play it for our viewers so they can listen to the words themselves and come to their own conclusions. Here's that.
But hopefully, I will. When the right answer comes out, you'll be praised. I mean, I don't know why. They made it so hard. They will be praised. People will say, "Great," because that's what it's about. That ability to check and to make it right, because everyone knows it's wrong.
How much of a difference are those words compared to what the quotes were actually printed originally? Again, find the fraud.
Well, I think find the fraud implies to that Georgia investigator that they have something illegal done in their state that they've got to go find. And if they don't find it, they're committing fraud too. So that's why it's serious. It goes to that narrative that the impeachment managers wanted to use over the president, that he was somehow pushing, the big lie. That's why they included those words. When you listen to the actual commentary, the president's just saying, do your job. That's why you're there. You're put in place to do it. And if you do your job, I think people will be very happy about the outcome of what happens, which is that there will be some corrections made in Georgia. Georgia was a mess in this election cycle. The Georgia state legislature is already trying to correct those problems. The Secretary of State made no friends in the Republican Party, but I think he also put a lot of distrust into Georgian voters specifically. And so at the end of the day, this is the typical Trump derangement syndrome on display now into 2021. The Amazon Washington Post wants to get away with it by saying we were wrong, but he was a bad guy. So who cares that we put quotes around something that never existed?
Finally, Jordan, I want to ask you, could we see any sort of legal response from Team Trump since this new correction has been issued? Could there be suing for libel?
It's still the president's legal team, so it's shifted obviously from his role as president of the United States to his private role as former president of the United States. We've got a lot of legal work going on. But certainly I think where this is going to come into play, Emma, is not only a kind of, I'd say aggressive legal action or one that's offensive. It could also help in any of the defense, because we know that in Georgia, There's U.S. attorneys, there's investigations going on about these phone calls. So this is, again, a great defense to what evidence they thought they had, what they thought they had in the impeachment, what they thought they had, 2 days ago. Now they don't have. So whether or not we have to take it into an offensive role, we'll discuss that with the president. He's obviously, as everyone knows, not afraid to do that if we believe there's enough there to take action, and he wants to. But I do think the defensive element of this is something that is very unique to basically have the newspaper come out and say, the quotes we put around your statements were absolutely wrong. We made those up. We fabricated them. Who is going to be fired? That is the question for taking an anonymous source who obviously was making up what they heard. Maybe wasn't even on the phone call. So there's a lot to be learned that you could get in a deposition in a defensive way or offensive way. And we'll have to discuss that with the president.
Okay, and he'll have to keep us updated. In the meantime, though, we've learned the Biden administration has released a new intel report about Russia and Iran and the 2020 elections as well, saying specifically that Russia was trying to help President Trump, Donald Trump, win re-election here based on using sort of U.S. officials to spread propaganda. What's your reaction to this report's findings?
See, the Democratic Party, and I'm not talking about all liberals, but especially these Democrats in control in Washington, D.C., the Adam Schiffs of the world, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, Chuck Schumer's of the world. The list could go on and on and on, Swalwell's, but you get the gist. They are obsessed with distracting us with Russia. So with Mueller, there was found no collusion with Russia. There's no connection with Trump and that trying to help Russia and Russia trying to help Trump. They are, again, they like to sow doubt in elections, but they're not doing it for one side. So what the Democrats want us to do is put all of our focus on Russia. Iran, by the way, does not have I don't think the technical capabilities to actually impact an election, nor do they have the kind of intelligence capabilities to do so. But you know what they're trying to do is they're distracting us from the real problem. Your last guest talked about it. We're all going to keep pounding the table until the American people understand, and the Biden administration understands, we're not going to buy this Russia threat. It's China, China, China. They are the problem America is facing. The virus, the hacking, the data collection, the intellectual property, the way they treat their own people, the genocide of the Muslims in Western China. This is a real problem. Russia is something that is a distraction.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Jordan Sekula joining us live here on National Report. Always great to see you. Thanks so much, Jordan. Take care.
Thanks, Emma.